guys? Chris from Morecast. So I'm actually out here filming this week's Tackle Talk. I decided to come to a place that I actually grew up fishing. I showed in the beginning of the video that there's actually a pier over there. It's called Bayshore Pier, and that used to be a really great fishing spot. I used to go there all the time after school and on the weekends and stuff like that. And it was a really great fishing pier. A lot of cobia, big snook. There's been so many fish caught off of that pier. Well, it's been closed now for quite a few years, and it's actually before our last hurricane it was still closed. But I was actually driving through here one day and I noticed the little beach over here, and I noticed I could actually launch my kayak from this area. I could actually park here and launch my kayak from here. So this is definitely a spot I've been wanting to eventually try out, so I figured I'd come and show you guys this spot. Now, being in the harbor, the water is definitely dirty. It is always dirty. It's always a dark sweet tea color almost. And then like literally right across the way you got the 41 bridge over that way. And then if you go right around this point, there's a point over there. I don't know if you guys can see across the way, there's some red roofs. Right around that point is about where Ponce is. So it's definitely part of the harbor, but this is a side of the harbor that I've never really fished too much. So I've actually pulled it up on the map. I've looked at it. It looks like it can be really nice if I put in and then, you know, go more south or southwest, I should say. So I've definitely been doing some research of this spot. I haven't taken the time to actually come and do it yet, but I definitely plan on doing it in the near future. Just to try it out. I'm trying to wait for a lot of this rain to stop. I think this is gonna be a great spot during either the winter or, you know, early spring. The water will be a little bit cleaner. Right now we've got so much fresh water. You figure right past those bridges, if you keep heading, you know, northeast, that's the Peace River. So we got all that fresh water pouring out right now. So I think during the winter time, early spring, this is gonna be a good spot to try. So maybe this winter I'll end up doing a video here. Never fished this before, but I'm gonna go ahead, get in my truck and start the tackle talk. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys real quick this area. So if I zoom in right here, so this is pretty much exactly where I'm parked. This is the beach area right here that you can walk your kayak down to. And whenever you come out off this launch, now during winter tides, this is all very, very low. I mean, you can walk almost all the way out to the end of this pier, probably about halfway to 3/4 of the way out of this, to the end of this pier. But this is the area right here that I'm talking about. This is where I'm at recording. And if you zoom out, so that pier goes all the way out. So once you get down here, there's a big hole out here. And what I want to fish is, if I come down here, all of this right here, there's piers all along down this whole place. And then right here there's a creek that comes out right here that I want to fish. There's a marina right here. And then if you come out this way, this leads up into some canal systems that lead up into residential canals, and those are all have docks and stuff like that. Really good fishing. And then if I keep going down a little ways, this is the main area I want to fish. Is right here. All of this right here. All of this is drainage. So this is a lot of the area I want to fish, is just all of this out here, this outside bar area. But that's the reason I want to put in over there. This is the area I'm at right now, and the area that I eventually do want to fish one day. And then also, if I do want to go and fish the bridge, I can come over this way and fish these bridges, which are very, very, they hold a lot of pretty big fish. So, but yeah, this is the area I'm at. This is the area I wanted to show you. Like I said, there's a couple piers down the way, and then there's actually a couple spots you could honestly just launch a kayak from if you wanted to. I haven't done it yet. It's something I definitely want to do though. Alright guys, so I'm in my truck now, time for the tackle talk. So I know lately in my videos, you know, my fishing videos, and then the last tackle talk video, I went a little bit into it, but I've been talking a lot about Zman being ElazTech, and then other baits like the Salt Strong baits, DOA, saltwater assassin, even the Wise Guys. Those are a Plastisol type of bait. So those are your traditional, you know, soft plastics. Well, that made me thinking, and I really want to just do, you know, a Zman versus Plastisol. In my opinion, why I choose Zman over any other baits. Now, mind you, before you watch this video, I don't get anything from Zman. I'm not sponsored by them at all. I don't get discounts on Zman. I use all my own money to buy Zmans. No discounts, no nothing. So I've been using them for about 10 years now. I've been using Zman, and I've stopped using them and then started using them, and I've tried different baits. Now all these other baits, DOA, saltwater assassin, the Salt Strong baits, the Wise Guy baits, they're all really great baits, and I still do use them from time to time. That Wise Guy kick and shrimp, I plan on getting some of those for wintertime. That's gonna be a great finesse style bait. So I'm still gonna throw these baits. I still keep DOAs and saltwater assassins and the mirror lure soft plastics. I still keep them and use them regularly. But as far as my everyday, what I'm going out and using, I do prefer the Zmans. And in this video, I'm gonna show you why. All right, so I'm gonna cover two types of baits from the Zman and the traditional Plastisol baits. I'm gonna cover paddle tails and stick baits. So I'm going to start off with paddle tails. So I got some saltwater assassins. This is a color that I really love during fall time into winter time. It's called Drunken Monkey. It's a real earthy color. I got one right here. It's a nice earthy color. It's got this, you know, this copper bottom and then that watermelon seed on top. Great color. This is a 4-inch bait by Saltwater Assassin. I mean, I really like this color. I always start usually throwing them around, you know, late fall, early winter time. But that's it right there. And then I also got the Zman 4-inch diesel minnows, and this is in the redfish toad color, which is another great color. I love throwing this also around fall into winter time. That's it right there. So I plan on going over the pros and cons of both baits. So I'm going to talk about Zman first. So some of the pros, they are made out of the ElazTech material. So this bait, you can stretch it, it goes right back to form every time. Not only that, the action of the tail is crazy because of that ElazTech material. So one of the pros of the Zmans is durability. It is very hard to break them. I am stretching it very, very far right now. I've probably got my arms almost to full length, and it still has not broke yet. And it let goes, and it goes right back to its original form. So that's first pro. Second pro is during the colder months, and I've actually got some on the water footage I'm going to show you with the stick baits. But during the colder months, the ElazTech material in the cold water, it keeps its form also. It keeps the same action that it would during the summer months. That's another reason I like the Zman ElazTechs, is because when I'm throwing my shrimps, my stick baits, I'm throwing even paddle tails, or I'm throwing the kicker crab, any of those baits in the cold water, I don't have to work them at all. I can just throw it out there, and as long as there's some kind of water movement, it'll sit there. And like I said, I have some on the water footage I'm gonna put in the clips with the stick baits, but I've got some but you don't have to move it at all, and it will sit there, and it'll just sit there and go back and forth. And also what it does is it will actually lift the hook up into position because it is such a light material. All right, so now let's talk about the cons with these baits. So the first con, and the con that turned me off of them for the longest time, is storage. If you leave a pack of these in your truck down here in Southwest Florida, it will definitely, if they're not in the package perfect, whenever you go to take it out and it cools back down, you'll notice they'll be bent. They won't have their actual natural form. And there's a way you can fix it, but to me, that's a hassle. So first con is storage. You can't store them in hot places. You can't, you have to make sure they stay in their trays perfectly, like right, that way. If not, they will deform, and you'll go to take a bait out of the bag and you won't be able to use it because either the paddle will be bent, or if you're using a jerk shad, it'll be bent and it won't have the right action it's supposed to have. Also, when it comes to storage, you cannot mix these with any other bait, any of the other Plastisol baits. If you do, it forms a chemical reaction and these things will melt completely together. It will melt with the other bait, and you'll not only ruin your Z-Man, but you'll ruin any other bait that was in the package with the Z-Man. So you cannot store these with any other baits. My suggestion for that is, what I do is I keep, if you've seen in my videos, I got that white bag that I keep in the back of my kayak. I take that off my kayak and I bring it inside and I store it on a shelf inside my house. That way it's in room temperature and I don't have to worry about them getting deformed. Now, if it's just for a day out on the kayak, I never have the issue with it. I can buy a pack, leave it out. I never have any issues with it. It's whenever it's in high temperatures for long periods of time. All right, let's talk about saltwater assassins now. Now, I'm using this brand because I keep these on me. I always use the saltwater assassin brands. I like them. DOA is another brand, they're good, but this is the same material that these other baits are going to be, the same Plastisol material. So I'm using these because this is what I have, and I also wanted to get some from Sportsman. I had to get some other baits, so as you can see, when I went to Sportsman earlier, I picked up a couple baits, and that way I could also do the tackle talk. So let's talk about the pros. So the pros for this bait, it does have a lot of action in the tail. It does. During the warmer months, it has a lot of action in the tail, as long as the water is warm, I mean, not super cold. These are great baits. I've caught a lot of nice fish on these baits. Another pro, storage. It doesn't matter where you leave this thing. I can leave them in my truck, I can leave it out in the sun, I can leave it in the front yard. It doesn't matter where I leave these, they will always keep their form. I don't ever have to worry about them deforming at all. So now let's talk about some cons. So very first con is, the very first con for me of all these other baits is this: very little effort, tail got ripped off. That is the #1 reason I use Z-Mans over any of these other baits. Now if you go to price wise also, so these at my local bait store that I go to, these are $4.99 for a pack. The DOAs, the same thing, $4.99 for a pack. Z-Mans, $4.99 for the pack. Now this is a 10 count, so you get double the baits, and that's one thing people say all the time. $4.99 for this, you get 10 baits. $4.99 for this, you get 5 baits. And that's what everyone always says. Well, you pay the same price and you get less Z-Mans. Well, how many times can I grab a bait out of the Z-Man pack and sit here and stretch it, stretch it, stretch it? And how many times can I do that with this? By the time I stretch that one Z-Man bait 10 times, I've already broke 10 of these. So that is the biggest con for me when it comes to all these other Plastisol baits. Needlefish will break them. Aggressive fish at all, if you have it on jig head, it will start to tear up the inside right here, and then when you try to keep putting it back on the hook, you can't do it. Pufferfish hits it one time, it's gone. A Z-Man, I've had pufferfish hit it, and eventually, yes, it does bite right through it, but it takes a lot to break that Z-Man. Okay, and then the last con is for what I said as one of the pros for Z-Mans is during those colder months, these things, they tend to get, you know, these things, they tend to stiffen up a little bit, which means I have to work them more. And there's a lot of times I can just dead stick a Z-Man in front of a redfish's face and not have any rod movement at all and risk spooking that red by lifting my line a little bit. I can just dead stick it almost, and the bait will give me a lot of action and they will hit it. Whereas with one of these, I have to either I have to put the action in this a little bit harder than I do the Z-Mans during the colder months. Now this is them compared side by side. Now this one says it's a 4-inch bait. This one also says it's a 4-inch bait. This almost seems more like a 3.5-inch bait, but that's the difference right there. It almost seems like this one is a little bit longer. I've never actually taken a tape measure and measured them, but the 4-inch Z-Man is definitely a little bit longer than the 4-inch saltwater assassin. All right, so now let's talk about stick baits. So there's 2 stick baits that I use, or one that I'm actually about to start trying out, but one that I've used for a while now. It's made by Mirror Lure. So this is the Mirror Lure. It's the eel, and they come in an 8 count. The only place that I can find these are at Walmart. I can't find them in any bait store around where I'm at, but they come in this hot pink, like bubblegum color. They also come in a clear glitter one with like a chartreuse tail. It's been in a few of my past videos, but this is one of the ones I use. And then I just recently started using these trout tricks. I actually caught a trout on it on my last video, but I've been wanting to try these for a while, especially for fall and, you know, winter time. And the reason I want to start using these is because of the action that they have. Now, I just recently went on a fishing trip and I did some on the water footage. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in just to show the action and the difference between the 2 baits. This is pretty much acting for all Plastisol baits and all ElazTech baits that are being used. So it's going to show the action of the baits, and it's also going to show how it acts whenever it's actually on the ground and how much action it's actually giving. So if you look right here, this is the Z-Man trout trick, and if you watch me bounce it, it stands up. It continues to stand up. Now these are rigged on a 1/8 ounce trout eye jig head, but if you can see, it just sits there and it just moves with the water. And every time I bounce it, it just stands straight up and continues to stand straight up. And this is the same action it has during the winter months. Now if you look at this, this is now the Mirror Lure eel. If you watch, every time I bounce it, it stands up for a second, but then it falls to the side. And if you watch it, so I'm dragging it along the bottom here, and as soon as I pop it, try to get the pop to stand back up again, I have to actually take it out of the water and make it fall just to have it stand back up again, and then it wants to fall to the side again. So that's the difference between the ElazTech material and a Plastisol. If you look, it stood straight up, but then within seconds it just fell down on the side. So that's the main reason for me using the ElazTechs versus the regular Plastisol baits. Don't get me wrong, all these other brands are great baits. They do work awesome. They catch big fish. I used to be a straight saltwater assassin DOA guy for a very long time, and I've even left the Z-Man and started using them again. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the Z-Mans, in my opinion, they're more durable. 1 pack of Z-Mans will last as long as almost 2 to 3 packs of any of these other baits. I mean, I literally have a 4-inch beer run that I've had for the past almost 3 trips, and I've caught 2 to 3 redfish on them. I've caught snook on them. I've caught trout on it, and it's the same exact one I've been using for these past few trips. And that just goes to show that it lasts a very long time. As long as you stay away from pufferfish, it'll last a very long time. And then in one of my last videos, I tried using a Slam Shady 2.0. I caught 2 fish on it, and it was already tore up. So the main reason behind me using the Z-Mans and why I promote Z-Man and why I, you know, try to get other people to use Z-Man is because, 1, you can stretch it as far as you want without it breaking. They're very durable. And 2, it holds its action through all the seasons, and it gives a lot of action with very little effort. You don't have to work as much, which means you're making lighter rod movements as you're working the bait. If you've ever sight cast a redfish or tried to sight cast a redfish, you know that especially if it's tailing and its guard is up, you throw your bait at it and you want to move your line through the water as little as possible so you don't scare it. Well, with the Z-Mans, that has made it very easy for me to see a tailing red, throw out that red, and just kind of just let it sit there and wait until the redfish gets right in front of my bait, and 9 times out of 10 it'll just whack it with me doing very little effort. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. Like I said, that was just my take on ElazTech versus regular Plastisol baits. At the end of the day, the paddle tails, they'll all catch fish. You know, the stick baits, they'll all catch fish. They all work. All these different brands, they all do work. It's about finding your confidence baits and using them to your advantage. Now, I want to do just a real quick tip toward the end of this about a different bait. The reason I went to Sportsman was to get a lure that I really like throwing this time of year, especially if you're trying to target big trout. And this lure works great from fall all the way until, you know, the winter, then even a little bit into the spring. So this is the Mirror lure. It's the MR17, the one I always use this one, but in a different color. Now if you look at that one, it looks like a small speckled trout. It looks like a very small speckled trout. Well, if you've ever noticed, a lot of times if you're reeling in, especially around fall, wintertime, if you're reeling in a small trout, if you slow it down, sometimes you'll see a bigger trout behind it. Well, trout are very cannibalistic. They will eat the smaller trout. This bait right here imitates a smaller trout, and this bait right here will trigger some really big trout. So if you want to try to get into that 20, that release over 20 club, or get in that 20-inch club for trout, or even bigger trout, 23, 24, 25 inch trout, this bait right here will do very good. It's a suspending twitch bait. All you do is twitch, pause, figure out the cadence that they want, and this bait will definitely catch you some really big trout. This will also catch you some snook, redfish, and even tarpon. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're notified when I post a new video. Remember guys, I love comments. I'll reply to every single comment, and I always take some advice. Even if I don't agree with the advice, I'll still look into that advice. I may not agree with it at that moment, but I always do the research on that advice. And if I find that your advice was actually, it helped me, or it could help me in any way, I've actually messaged people and told them, like, thanks for that advice. I actually took that advice. It works. So leave comments, guys. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know if you like these videos or not. Remember, guys, there's always time for one more cast. I'll see you later.